I was rotting in a dive bar on Christmas Eve when the goddess of death found me. Facing away from the door, I felt a wave of winter chill flush against the back of my neck when she came into the dimly lit tavern. The bartender blanched when he saw her, then wordlessly pointed a finger to himself to ask if she had come for him. "No, Gary," she said, her voice low and husky. "Not today." I did not look to see who had just entered the Rusty Pearl. She placed a hand on my shoulder and her skin was like ice. The cold soaked through my cardigan all the way down to my bones. "Finish your drink, Sarah," she said, sliding onto the cracked leather stool beside me and folding her hands on the sticky bar top. I choked as I recognized her. She was exactly as described, a grim reaper disguised as a beautiful woman with pale skin and long dark hair. She wore a cloak of gold-tipped raven feathers and looked as though she'd stepped out of a storybook. But in a world where gods walk among mortals, everyone in the bar knew who she was. And though her appearance was unmistakable, her signature scent, that which most comforts the one she seeks, left no doubt that she was there for me. So my time had finally come. I stared down into my half-finished drink, swallowing hard against the fear in my throat. Not everyone received a personal visit from the goddess of death when it was their time to go, and I wondered what made me so special. "I've been watching you for a while," she said, leaning in towards me. "Well, the cancer's back for a third time," I said with a bitter laugh. "On the contrary," she said, cocking an eyebrow, "I've been impressed by your commitment to thwart me." I scowled and took a sip of my drink. But only a small sip. She'd grant me time until my drink was gone, so I decided to drag it out. I glanced over at her and saw her running a finger through a ring of condensation left from the previous patron's glass. I wondered what she thought of the dingy hovel where I chose to spend my holidays. It certainly wasn't a glamorous end to my pitiful life. "I have a proposition for you," she said, folding her hands again. "An alternative to the inevitable, if you will." "All right," I said, swirling the ice and lime wedge in the bottom of my glass with the dregs of Gary's heavy pour. The goddess of death didn't strike me as someone who cut deals with mortals, but what did I know? I am in need of an assistant, someone to help me manage things. She took a deep breath and sighed. There's just so much going on in the world these days. War, violence, disease. With the human population at an all-time high, I'm a little busier than I'd like. "Are you offering me a job?" I asked, staring into the voids of her eyes. The notion sounded ridiculous. "In a way," she said. "Consider it a promotion from being a cancer-riddled, college dropout with no family?" I suggested. "I was going to say human, but describe yourself how you like," she said, shrugging. "What makes you think I'd be a good assistant?" I asked. There was no possible way I was qualified for whatever it was she wanted me for. "I have a good feeling about you," she said earnestly. "Maybe it's the slope of your handwriting, or the exact shade of your fingernails. Perhaps it's the content of the book report you wrote in the 4th grade, or the constellation of freckles on your back. All these details seemed irrelevant to my ability to perform as a goddess's assistant. All right, what's the compensation? With little tethering me to my current situation and the ever-growing tumors in my body, I suppose I had nothing to lose. I was alone in a greasy dive bar on Christmas Eve, after all. "Immortality," she said plainly. She took a beat to examine the look of surprise on my face and grinned. "I told you it was an upgrade from being human. What exactly would I do as your assistant?" I asked. Her offer seemed too good to be true. "We can discuss that later," she said, waving a hand dismissively. She eyed my nearly finished drink and I took the final sip. "Do we have a deal?" "Fine," I said in an exhaled sigh. Whatever the catch was, it couldn't be that bad. She held out a spindly hand to me and I shook it, her coldness once again penetrating me to the core. But as we sealed the accord, I felt so warm that her chill didn't bother me anymore. The skin on my hand flushed to a hue of bronze, as if I'd spent the last few weeks basking in the summer sun. The pain in my body disappeared and my vision, hearing, and sense of smell swelled in strength. Releasing her hand, I took off my glasses, no longer needing them. I could hear every hushed conversation around us. And I could smell the goddess so strongly now, the scents of coffee and wood smoke overwhelming the staleness of the bar. Gary appeared again.